So I just finished taking my CNA test, my Certified Nursing Assistant test. And I thought I would do a quick video while my emotions are still raw because it was pretty stressful and crazy. And I thought it would be a good idea to share my experience for anybody who is about to take the test. Sometimes I feel like if I know things or I talk to someone who's been through something that I've been through, it helps it to be a little bit easier for me to know what to expect and how it's going to be. So I've been a stay-at-home mom for my whole life. I did work at Little Caesars when I was 16 years old. But ever since then, I have been a stay-at-home mom with my kiddos. I've done a few things here and there, but I've never completely worked outside the home. I started going back to school, and I also decided that I wanted to get my CNA license. I thought that it seemed like a really awesome program, and I would be able to work with the elderly, which sounded really fun. Started a class in March to do this, and when the class finishes, you're supposed to take your test, and as long as you pass, then you're a certified nursing assistant, and you can continue working. So my situation was a little weird because when I started in March, who knew that COVID was going to shut everything down and make life a little crazy for people? And it did the same for me. So I took the class with 4 other girls. And when you go for your CNA license, when it's a program through a nursing home, they start you working so that you're getting experience. So it seems like it was somewhere between a week and 2 weeks that we were just fully in the classroom learning. And then they get you out on the floor so that you can be with the residents and you can learn and you can have one-on-one care with these people and really get some experience. And then you take your test. Well, for us, we did our classroom and then we started working on the floor, and our test just kept getting canceled and moved. And we'll let you know when the next testing date is even available because the testing center is closed. And so let's see, I started in March, and our first test date was supposed to be May 4th, and May the 4th be with you. And unfortunately it was moved. So we finally got our actual test date, which was today, and that was August 17th. So all the way from May 4th to August 17th, we've just kind of been in limbo and just working as much as we can, even though we have not been able to take our test. And so there's been a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress for me building up to be able to take this test. We were definitely doing skill reviews so that our skills would be fresh in our mind. We were able to go to the testing facility and actually be in the classroom one day and practice all of our testing skills. And this was Friday. And so that was great to be able to have that knowledge of how the classroom was for us to be taking our test in. But I had also heard that it can be really tricky, and if you're not careful, the test facilitator, she may not realize that you've done something, a certain step in your skills. And so they tell you to just be really vocal with everything that you're doing. You know, even from hand washing, I'm now turning on the water and I'm getting soap and I'm rinsing my hands and everything that you're doing. They want you to do that. So I studied and studied and studied, and I really felt like I was prepared. The only one that I was really nervous about was blood pressure. I just really struggle with hearing it, and then I second guess myself and I get nervous, and I was really afraid to get blood pressure. So basically how it works is there are 20 some skills. One of ours, which was mouth care, was actually taken off the skills because of COVID-19. We were actually wearing our masks through the entire process, as well as we had to have gloves on the entire process. It was kind of crazy. The day of, we had to provide 2 forms of ID, and they both had to have a signature on it. I didn't have one in my hand at the time. I had something different, and then she reminded me. I was like, oh, that's right, 2 signatures, and I had to go grab my other one. So luckily I had it, or else I wouldn't have been able to take the test. So then they kind of explain what's going to happen, and then they pass out the written test, and they go through that whole process, and you take your test. We had 70 questions, 10 of which were test questions. They were just putting them in there to see how they did with the students, to see how well they could do with those questions, and to decide if they wanted to add them to future tests. So even though we had 70 questions, only 60 of them would count. So we did our test. There's a mask hanging up back there. So we did our test, and at the end, we all went into another waiting room, and the girls and I were talking, and there were several questions that were completely foreign to us. We were like, I have no idea. And we would ask each other, did you get this question? And how did you answer it? So that was kind of fun because it actually took the nerves out a little, you know, took the edge off a little bit for our nerves. And then she lets us know who our partners are and what order we're going to be going in, because when we're in the classroom, it's just the person taking the test, their partner, and the test facilitator, just 3 people in the room. And what you do is when it's your turn, she shows you what skills you'll be performing, and you have to always do hand washing, and you always have 1 measurement skill, and then you have 3 other random skills that are picked from the lot of all of them. And I was really nervous. I did not want to get blood pressure. I think out of the 5 of us, I think 3 people got blood pressure, 3 out of 5. So it was a lot. And when I saw that I did not have blood pressure, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. This is wonderful. I took my test in the state of Pennsylvania, and I'm not sure if it is pretty similar in all other states or how it works. My test was facilitated through Pearson VUE. It really only took us about 4 to 5 hours, just depending on how long it takes and getting there early and everything, to do the whole process. And we weren't allowed to take anything with us into the test room, of course. You know, our cell phones or anything. We could just have some pencils with us, number 2 pencils. That's the only thing that we needed for our test. So after I saw that I did not have blood pressure, I was so excited, and I really thought, oh, I've got this, I can do this. It gave me a little more confidence. Unfortunately, even though I really feel like I knew my skills backwards and forwards and could practically do them in my sleep, it still is really nerve-wracking once you get into that room. I tried my best to just take a couple deep breaths before I started and try to relax. The issue with me when I get nervous, so when I get nervous, I tend to just go really fast, and I don't think if I have to speak in public or anything, I just talk really fast, and at the end I'm like, I don't even know what I said. So I always have to be completely prepared and read from a script, or else I don't know what I just have no idea. And I go really fast, it's crazy. So I knew that's what I was gonna do. So I was trying really hard to stay calm and to not do that, but unfortunately I didn't. I remember as I was doing the skills, I honestly was not thinking about anything. I was just doing them. I wasn't thinking, what's the next step? Or did I miss anything? Or, you know, and I completely prepared that there's some things that you want to always do. You always want to make sure that you pull the privacy curtain when it's needed. You want to make sure that they have their call bell when you leave, and you wash your hands and the bed's in the lowest position. There's certain skills that you need to make sure that the bed is locked before you transfer a patient. And so first I washed my hands, and I actually forgot to rinse them, like to get them wet before I put the soap on. And so I turned and looked at her and I said, I didn't wet my hands first. Is it okay if I wet my hands and then add soap again? And she said, yes, that's fine. So I rinsed my hand off. We were told that as long as we tell them in the process that we forgot something, we're allowed to fix that step, and it should count and not count against you. And so I remembered right away, because as soon as I put the soap on, I'm like, I didn't get my hands wet. So I rinsed the soap off while I was getting my hands wet. I got soap again, and I finished the whole process. And as far as I know, I didn't miss anything on there. So I think hand washing, I did okay, I hope. But again, I was so nervous and like almost sick to my stomach because I was so nervous that afterwards I couldn't remember. I started looking through my book and be like, did I do that? Did I hit every step? I don't know if I did, I just couldn't remember. So when I get my test results, I'll be able to know if I missed anything else. So you are allowed to miss a few steps. I feel like it's kind of up to the facilitator, the lady giving you your test, how many of the skills that you can miss. If you miss a bold step skill, it's an automatic fail. And so you want to make sure that you know those ones and don't mess those up, and make sure if they need to be in a specific order, you get them in the right order. Start your skills. Like I said, you have 5 that you need to perform. And because of COVID, we had to make sure we put gloves on at the beginning of each skill, even if it didn't typically require gloves. We still had to do that. And at the end of your skill, the last thing you want to make sure that you do is wash your hands and say end skill. If you're recording a measurement, you usually wash your hands, record the measurement, and then say end skill. As soon as you've said end skill, that skill's over and you cannot go back and fix it, even if you realize, because that's what happened to me. So after I finished my hand washing, I went next to counting respirations. That was my measurement that I had to do. And I think I got all of those ones correct. So my very next skill that I had to do was transfer a resident by using a transfer belt. And the first step that you have to do is pull the curtain for privacy and make sure that the bed is locked so that it cannot move while you are moving your resident out of bed. So I got the whole way through that skill and I said end skill, and I was putting gloves on to start my next skill, and that's when I realized I did not lock the bed. I did all the other steps. I forgot to lock the bed, even though I was so good at that when I was practicing. And I know that you have to lock the bed before you move anybody. Totally forgot. So I had already said end skill, and there was nothing I could do. And I was so frustrated. I just kind of melted for a second. I was like, oh my goodness. And I looked right at my partner and I forgot to lock the bed in that last skill. And I knew it. And I was just like, I can't believe I forgot to do that. And I was like, now I failed the test. And then I was like, wait a minute. I still have 2 more skills to do. I need to focus. And my partner was great. She was like, don't worry about it. Just focus on your skills. Finish the 2 that you have to do. You're okay. And I was so glad she said that because it calmed me down. So then I had, my last 2 were position on side, and I think I hit all those points well. And the last one was pericare, perineal. And the last one was pericare. And for some reason, I always forget to put the towel under the resident. And I knew it was gonna happen. I totally practiced last night, thought about it. It's the last thing I thought about when I walked into the room, literally, was remember to put a towel under if I get that skill. And so I forgot. But as I was rolling the resident, I remembered, and I said, oh, I would like to put a towel under her. I'm sorry that I missed that step. So I put a towel under her. So as far as I know, those are the 3 steps that I missed during the whole process. And I believe that 2 of them, because I remembered before I said end skill, will be okay. I think that I still got credit for those 2. So I really just missed the 1. But I really had it in my head that it was a bold step. And so I walked out of there thinking I failed, completely thinking 100%. I failed, it's over, I messed up. I grabbed my booklet to look, and it was not a bold step. And I was like, oh, there's a chance that I can still pass. Even though I'm kind of nervous about my written part, because it felt like there was at least 8 to 10 questions that I was kind of unsure of. And maybe those are just those test questions, because when we started discussing it, there was a question about CPR, and we actually haven't even had our CPR class, and CPR was not part of our class that we took, part of the curriculum for that. So even though it's something that's required to be a CNA, it is something that's separate. And so our teacher was like, I don't think that should have been on your test. I don't know what's going on. So hopefully that was at least one of the test questions. And if I missed a few others, hopefully they were all the test questions and they don't even count. So we'll see. We don't get our results until 6 p.m. tonight. We have to go log on. And so I will do that and see how I did. They'll let you know whether you passed or you failed your written part, as well as pass or fail your skills. And if you fail either one of those, then you did not pass. You did not get your CNA license today. So I'm super nervous. I'm driving home now. I really hope 6 o'clock comes quickly, because I just really need to have the answer. Whether it's pass or fail, I just need to know. And if it is fail, then I have to take the test again. I will continue to work as I have been and wait for the next testing date, which could be somewhere between a month and 2 months away. It's kind of crazy. And so all the anxiety and all the stress and craziness will start again. But at least I've done it once, so hopefully it won't be as bad the second time if I have to, so we'll see. As far as any tips that I have, get a good night's rest the night before. I'm terrible at sleeping the night before something big. And so I finally took some melatonin about 11:30, I think, and fell asleep, but I still think I only got around 5 hours of sleep, which for me is not enough. So sleep might have helped a little, and just try to be calm. You know, I kept telling myself the whole time, and we were all trying to calm each other down, just go in and do it. I knew every single step that I was supposed to do, but because I was so nervous is why I ended up forgetting those 3 different steps. And, you know, luckily I remembered the 2, so I hope those count. And that 3rd one might be my only issue. But we also were told that the test facilitator, if for whatever reason she doesn't see you do part of the skill or you don't vocalize it, then you could potentially miss part of it, even though you think you did it. So I was really nervous about that too, because, you know, maybe I missed something else on my own that I don't realize, or maybe she missed seeing me do something that I think I did. So I still, even though there's a chance that I only had that 1 mistake, I easily could still fail just because I don't really know how I did. We'll have to see. Before you go to take your test, make sure that you've practiced, and I recommend practice saying everything out loud. I practiced with Kinley, and she's 8 years old, and she was great. I would have her hold the book for me while I was practicing, and I would just vocalize every single step that I was doing, and she would help me study, and it was really great. Last night I went over just some of the book stuff to make sure that that was fresh in my mind, because there is a written exam and there is also a skills exam. Okay, so it's time for the results. I was so nervous waiting until 6 o'clock the other day. I was just going crazy, trying to do anything I could to distract myself until 6. And I finally logged in, and you click on written test and you wait a second until the results show up. And that was a little nerve-wracking. And I passed the written part. I was so excited. And so then next you click on the skills and you wait a second for the skills to pop up, and I passed. I can't believe I passed. I really was nervous that I was not going to pass for some reason. I thought that I had put so much effort into this and so much time practicing, and that I knew everything. And if my nerves are what caused me to fail at the end, I was going to be so sad. So I tried to tease Ben and the kids that I failed, and they were like, no, you passed. So it didn't work. But we decided to go and celebrate. We went to this really yummy pizza place that we've been going to lately. We got some food from there and went to the lake. It started raining. We brought Bella. We ended up just eating under the pavilion, but we just enjoyed time together, and it was really fun. It was good for me to get out and just let go of all that tension and stress that I had because I passed. I am now officially a CNA. I'm so excited, so happy. So I hope any of these tips will help you guys. Make sure you sleep the night before. Practice, practice, practice. Make sure that when you are practicing your skills, you are vocalizing everything you say, and then just breathe through the process. When you're in that room, don't just go so fast that you're not thinking. You know these skills, they're ingrained in you from performing them and from practicing them, and you're gonna do great. Just breathe. Take it easy. You're gonna do great. Just remember what you're doing, and before you say end skill, if there's anything that you forgot to do, make sure you speak up and tell them, and then it will count. So that's really an awesome thing that they allow you to do. In case your nerves get to you and you forget a few things, you're able to fix it in the end. Just if you've said end skill and you forget something, it's too late. So good luck, everyone, and I know you'll do great. Have a good day. See ya.